This is Chip Maxwell, and you're listening to the Retire Smart podcast with David Brooks. In today's guest episode, we're joined by our resident authority on Social Security, Swanson, to break down the latest shakeups in federal policy, including the Social Security Fairness Act. We explore what this means for your benefits, the financial system, and whether fairness is really the right word.
In the studio, once again, our resident authority, Swanson, on all things Social Security. And man, some major changes got laid down here just a few weeks ago. Biden's kind of one of his really, other than pardoning everybody, his last official act that's signing a law into place was is it Social Security Fairness Act? Is that what it was called?
Yes.
And is it fair?
Well, I'll tell you what it should. When they signed that, David, what it made me think of is the sound of a piggy bank breaking on the floor. The Social Security Fairness Act, what it does, it eliminates the reduction of Social Security benefits while entitled to public pensions from work not covered by Social Security. You want to translate that into English for our listeners?
Okay, so when you work for the government services, you do not pay into Social Security out of your paycheck, so therefore you're not entitled to it. However, you would qualify for typically what's called FERS or SERS. These are the two main pension outlets of federal employees. Well, a lot of people worked part of their career for the federal government and part of their career out of it, and so if they didn't have enough qualification or they were getting the pension from the government, we had what's called the windfall elimination
provision.
Right? Yeah, so WEP, as we call it. And again, it did not affect a ton of our clients, less than 5%, but nonetheless, it's good for those people. And again, hey, whatever the government's willing to give you, I think we all pay too much. I certainly think you should figure out how to take what the government offers you. But as John Q. taxpayer, I'm visibly upset over this because you're taking people that did not pay in through payroll deduction for this benefit and are now going to be taking this benefit. And as we all know, the government's spending a little too much money. And again, we've seen a little progress here. The president's been in office less than 2 weeks now, and we are seeing over $1 billion a day savings start to compound. So we'll see where this goes, but this is going to shorten the life of Social Security by anywhere from 9 to 15 months by most estimates. Social Security is set to reduce your benefits, if you don't know, in 2033. They send you a letter. Just look on the back of the letter. By 18 to 25% of the projections. This is now going to accelerate that problem. How do we fix that? Why are they doing this, et cetera? You know, I think it's buying votes. The administration on the way out the door did this. But again, hey, if you qualify for it, take advantage of it. But the problem for me, Sean, sorry to take up all the airtime here, is you're a pastor. Well, pastors had the opportunity to opt in or opt out way back in the early 80s. If you remember, under Reagan, the last time we made significant changes. Well, so a lot of them opted out because they just thought, okay, I need the take-home pay. They don't get paid a lot. I know the pastor that married me was living in a parsonage we provided and a very small stipend, did not have any Social Security. So now that, and he's passed on, but his wife is still here, has no Social Security benefit. These people don't qualify, right? It's only for the government worker that already has a pension. This is not fair, yet they call it the Fairness Act. Kind of like that
Inflation Reduction Act.
Inflation Reduction Act, right? Oxymorons are everywhere in these acts. So anyway, I guess you're going to add some new content to the Social Security class we have coming up. When is that class?
Yeah, the Social Security class is coming up on February 11th. That's a Tuesday, and Thursday, February 13th. They start at 6:30 p.m., and we have them here in the Midwest Learning Center. So I want to encourage you, those classes do fill up pretty quickly.
Yeah, this is one of the most popular ones too. So
yeah, and we go through content that I know is helpful because you and I have both had so many clients come through the class and say, I remember when we covered that. And David, you know, we also have a number of people that go to the class twice. Yes. They might go to it when they're 62, and then when it gets down to, I'm about to take it, they'll take the class again.
I just had this discussion with actually a friend who's not a client. He's been a friend of mine for almost 40 years. He turned 62 last year, and he was like, hey, listen, I'm I'm thinking maybe I should go ahead and turn it on, and he had a recent bout with some health issues that kind of changed his mindset. I was like, well, we have a Social Security class. Why don't you attend it? And he's like, can I go to that? Absolutely. This is free to the public. But we also encourage our clients that maybe hire us in their 50s or early 60s. When they get 62, we kind of automatically send them an email. Hey, you might want to attend this class. And as you said, usually we're telling people to defer to at least FRA age, not always, but that is typically the recommendation. And for a lot of folks, all the way out to 70 based on, life expectancy, taxation issues. And you cover in there not only how to draw it, what the penalties are, but you talk about the differences if you're married versus single. It changes that equation quite a bit, right?
It does, absolutely. We also run and make available to anybody that comes to the class that Social Security maximization report, which many people find quite helpful. So it's, from teaching so many classes, David, that we have this fine line between, we don't want to drown people with information, but we want to give them very useful data that they can use to make an informed decision.
Yeah, I know when I first started doing financial education classes and teaching, people's eyes were blown back in their head, hair on fire, even in the tax classes I teach you guys, and so I've learned how we have to dole this out in bite-sized information. But I think you've done a really good job of crafting this class, hence its popularity, where people find out the basics of Social Security, understand the penalties if you make a bad decision, and the likelihood that you make a perfect decision is it's less than 0.1%. There's actuarial studies. In other words, the only way we can make that perfect is if you gave us your date of expiration.
Exactly. Yes,
right?
That would make it easy.
If you happen to know the day you and your spouse will both pass away, we can dial this in to perfection. But we want to make the most probable choice. And I think what's great in the class is now you're talking about how to optimize it and give them the report, or how to maximize it, as we say. And then we go one step further for our clients and optimize it. And by that, we mean show tax savings, right? Because sometimes making the wrong Social Security decision is a $50,000 tax penalty on your retirement savings.
Wow, well said. Absolutely. And I know we don't have time to go through it today, but the Social Security decision impacts all of the many tax planning strategies that we're known for. And so there's many times, David, where we want to try and keep a person's reportable income down in some key years so we can utilize some other tax strategies to their greatest effect.
Yeah, I got to tell you, and I argue with some other friends of mine who own financial firms across the country on some of these strategies all the time. In fact, I just got an argument yesterday with one. In fact, our listening audience may know him because I was very polite to him on a YouTube video about a year ago, and we got into quite a healthy discussion on social media this past week on some of the very similar topics. And so one of the things that people are bringing up is, we don't have to worry about it anymore. We're not going to pay penalties for Medicare, or we don't have to worry about doing things like Roth conversions to worry about untaxed Social Security. We're not going to have an income tax. Mm-hmm. Now, if that were really true, I would tell you that's fantastic. Certainly, we're hearing the rhetoric of Trump say, hey, we want to eliminate income taxes, et cetera. The reality is it would take Congress to change the law. You can't wipe out income tax with an executive order. You would need all the senators, both bipartisan support to do it. Don't think we have that. And you would also have to wait to fund our government. And it's one thing, and one of the things I talk about is we funded our government. 72% of our government was funded with tariffs prior to having income tax. Well, that's when debt to GDP was a fraction of a percent. We are at 126% debt to GDP today. They're going to continue taxing Medicare, Medicaid through Social Security, right?
Yes. And one of the things we do talk about that people who attend the workshop tend to give me and you positive feedback about is understanding the different generations in America today.
Oh, absolutely.
Who's taking Social Security, who's not,
and who's paying
in.
For it, right.
Yeah, and you're the one that taught me that. And so when we talk about the entire Social Security barbell, it's very enlightening to talk about the funding and how, yes, under current law, funding is going to step down in now 2031, perhaps.
Yeah.
Based on
we
this
now
web
have
provision.
Generation Alpha. So after Gen Z, we now have the next generation has been labeled Generation A or Alpha. I guess that makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. However, we have a very big shortfall here. Again, it's going to be a much smaller generation, same as mine, Gen X, right? We have a shortage of 18-year-olds. And by the way, these colleges need to be paying attention. We had 200 universities close their doors last year across the country. 200 universities closed their doors last year. Now, these are small private colleges, et cetera. But you're going to see these universities need to adjust because we have such a small amount of 18-year-olds this year. I think it's the smallest in over 30-some years of kids that are 18 years old this year. So that's a problem for the labor force, by the way, right? And so Elon Musk kind of talks about that. Anyway, all this and more is covered. So we managed to make a Social Security class talk about Medicare, taxation, demography, right? Demographics of our country, and a whole lot more. And you do such a job of just making it entertaining. Are you singing in these classes, by the way, now?
I might if you ask me to. I don't sing normally, but anything's possible, David.
All right, again, just remind everybody when the class is.
Yeah, they're coming up on Tuesday and Thursday, February 11th and 13th, beginning at 6:30 p.m. And please call and register. That's 402-369-7777, or you can register on our website of retiresmartomaha.com.
Actually, the new website is just launched. It's retiresmartnow.com.
All right,
either
good.
one will get you there, but you do have to register. The class does fill up. We're out of time, Sean. Thanks for stopping in the studio.
Thanks, David.
Thank you for listening to the Retire Smart podcast with David Brooks. If you want to learn how to generate lifetime income, reduce your tax bill, and maintain your lifestyle in retirement, visit retiresmartpodcast.com. And make sure to subscribe to keep up with new episodes every week.